Hello everyone, I'm Grim, and well, I'm assuming you clicked on this video because you want to use VHand to spruce up your drawing videos. But you have not made a texture in your life before. Or you have and you just don't know how it works for VHand. Well, anyway, good news for you. I have made textures before. In fact, I've made one for VHand just for this video. This will be a detailed guide on how to mod VHand's textures so you can get your own custom art in there. I'll also go over problems that I ran into, how I fixed them. If you're not familiar with what VHand is, there will be a link to it in the description below. I also have a video giving my first impressions on it that you can check out as well. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Step 1. Reference! Get reference, oh my goodness! Before you get into making a custom texture, make sure you have a reference. I would recommend drawing a flat version of the hand you intend on making a texture of, even if you already have a full body reference sheet. This callout will just give you a far easier time to focus on what you need to include in your texture. Assuming you have a reference ready to go, let's get into setup. Once I sat down and I drew the flat image that I'll be using as a guide for my custom texture, I took a look at VHand's official mod guide. It's a short video, just over 1 minute long. In summary, you will open the VHand data folder, go to Streaming Assets, Mods, and open the texture you want to edit in your drawing software, place the corresponding mesh guide in, and keep everything you draw in the blue area. When you're done, you hide the mesh guide and save your texture as a PNG, then restart VHand to reload the textures. All of that sounds pretty reasonable. As a tip, if you're not sure how to get to VHand's data folder, you can right-click the program in Steam and select Browse Local Files to get to it easily. I also personally chose to copy the editable textures to a new folder with my character reference just so I wasn't cluttering up the files in Steam itself. Then I went on to import the mesh guides, and they're smaller resolution than the textures. I don't know why this is. This creates needless room for error. Okay, fine. It's not a big deal. They're guides, they're not supposed to actually show up. It doesn't matter that they're small, technically. Anyway, lower the opacity of them in Clip Studio so you can see, and carefully scale them up so that they match up with your textures as best as possible. If you do not align them correctly, you will mess up your rig. Take your time with this step, please. By the way, in case you're not sure why you need to follow the mesh guide that's included in the software, what it is basically a cutout that tells you what parts of the image that VHand is going to read. The polygonal shapes also give you an idea of what places the software is going to deform the textures around. They're kind of like 2D flat versions of all the polygons on a 3D model. After I had everything all set up, I decided that I don't want to have to remember to turn the mesh guide off every time I export a version of the texture to preview it, so I set it to a draft layer in Clip Studio Paint. This is handy because when you tell Clip Studio Paint to export a single layer, you can uncheck draft layers in the output and it won't render them in the final. It's a really handy trick if you need to have guides in your image, but you don't want to export them by accident. Now, let's work on the Stylus texture and the first bit of troubleshooting I had to do with my texture. After all my files were set up accordingly, I got into drawing. I started with the Stylus because it was going to be easier than figuring out the hand texture. Ideally, you'd have an actual design for the stylus in mind instead of being me and going, well, the bat stylus is cute, so I'm just gonna redraw it in my art style. Also, I made the bat more nefarious. I made Bat Stylus USA Angry Kirby Edition. And honestly, I just think it's so cute. So I wanted to keep using it. I would use that stylus in real life if I had it. Anyway, once I got the art done, I ran into this incredible and terrible problem where the PNG kept having white edges. Why are those there? I don't like those being there. Okay. A million miles of Googling and checking sources besides VHand's FAQ later because I wrongly assumed it was me being stupid, user error, not Clip Studio or VHand. After all that searching, I discovered that it's a Clip Studio problem. So if you're not using Clip Studio, congratulations. You can ignore all this troubleshooting and skip to the next section. But if you are, here's what's going on. The way Clip Studio exports alpha channels, which are the thing that tells a computer what parts of an image are transparent and what parts aren't, it's not good for Live 2D's Cubism engine, which is what VHand runs off of. Thankfully, VHand's FAQ on Steam clears up what to do about this. To fix the white outline issue, feel free to use this simple trick. Open Paint 3D and open your PNG there and save it again. Unfortunately, this issue is common from CSP users. Basically, CSP saves the transparent outline as white instead of black, like the other softwares. I use Photoshop to open my file and save it as PNG again, and it resolves the issue immediately. Anyway, I did that with Paint. I didn't even use Paint 3D, just so people are aware, and that absolutely fixes the problem. So I finished up the stylus, and it's great and beautiful, and look how evil my silly little bat stylus is. I love it. So, let's move on to the hand and my doom. Just kidding. I started with the sleeve because it was easier. It was not that eventful. I just deleted the back layer because I didn't need it and I didn't want to fight with trying to align it perfectly. Then it was time for the hand, which I could not put off any longer. So I opened up the texture file for the hand, and do you know what part is anything on this texture? Because I don't know at all. So to solve that, I went and I colored all the parts to figure out where the hell they go, because I don't have time to edit the parts of the texture that I don't need to. After I figured out what was where on the hand texture, it was just a matter of drawing what I needed, then going back and forth and testing a whole lot to ensure everything lined up and looked pretty nice. If you have a more painted style than me, you probably won't need to do this as much, but cell shading is my baby and I'll bring it everywhere, so that means I have to sit around and make sure that all of my hard shading looks nice once it starts moving. And here's my finished custom VHand texture. There's absolutely things I could improve, but I'm very happy with it for a first attempt. So you can expect to see this sometimes in videos going forward. I think it adds a delightful touch to my time lapses personally, and I like listening to the drawing noises while I work too. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully this tutorial helped you and saved you some stress. If it did, don't forget to like and subscribe so that YouTube knows that it didn't suck. But in the meantime, take care of yourself, be nice, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye!